How's it going, everybody? This is Al Smizzle, and I'm here with my friend Peter Christensen, aka Draft Cheat, who has just been absolutely dominating the daily fantasy world in terms of baseball recently. But we are going to teach you all the things that you're going to need to know about daily fantasy World Cup soccer. So, Pete, how are you feeling tonight, and are you ready to talk some soccer?
I am ready, man. World Cup once every 4 years. It starts tomorrow. Brazil, man, I'm so pumped for this. I can't wait. International soccer, you gotta love it. Mostly we get club soccer, but for this 1 month, we get World Cup in Brazil. I couldn't be more excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a real good time, and I am very excited for it as well. I mean, and look, we have two sites that are really kind of that have made a World Cup game out of it, and I'm very happy that it's made an appearance. I mean, it's harder to do in terms of like British Premier League, which is the league that everybody wants to see,
Yep.
but the games start really early in the mornings. Even for the East Coast people on the West Coast, you got some games starting at 4 a.m. and you need to have lineups before they start, and they don't come out until like 30 minutes before
Right.
the games on that. So it's kind of hard. But World Cup, perfect, and it's in our part of the world. So
Yeah.
it's not like we have to be up early in the morning to get the roster. So this is the perfect time for DFS World Cup. And we have on Stack Clash, actually, we have a little promotion for the grinders. If you go to the forums, go to rotogrinders.com, actually, our homepage, or you can go to the forums, and right there on the top you see a Stack Clash promo for grinders only. They're having a free roll. If you sign up through our links, you are going to be involved in roughly $1,000 worth of free rolls that nobody else is going to have access to unless you sign up through a Grinders link. So do that. They have one starting tomorrow. And this is the difference because Stack Clash starts tomorrow with the Brazil game, and I think they run all weekend with their first slate of games. So there's a lot more games to choose from. You're going to see a lot less overlap there. But DraftKings is going one day at a time, and so they're skipping the Brazil game tomorrow. And you see I'm wearing my Brazil jersey. I like
Oh, yeah.
watching the Samba superstars play because they don't march, they dance. And it's a much more fun game when you get guys that attack and dance and do skill moves and go 1v1 versus attacker versus defender. It's a lot of fun. And playing in front of their home crowd, tomorrow's going to be a great game. So if you're playing on Stack Clash, sign up through our link. You get involved in their little Grinders promotion, and it's going to be a great deal. If you're going to wait until Friday's games to get involved, that's also a way to go. But we are going to just go group by group, and we're going to talk about not every single team, but we're going to go through some strategies to go over, as well as go group by group and tell you some matchups that we like. So first, let's just start with some basic strategies. Looking at Draft Street's scoring,
Yep.
which is really going to be the site that we're going to focus on the most, I think, today, is just
Yeah.
because it's going to have the bigger games and more action over there, really. What are your suggestions on, first, how do you attack? Because it's not a real big roster. You got two defensemen, two midfielders, two forwards, and a flex, and a goalie. It seems to be very skewed towards goal scoring and
Yes.
defenses who are going to get a shutout. So how would you attack it strategy-wise?
Yeah, I mean, it might be a new sport for a lot of people, but a lot of the same principles, that we use in normal DFS apply here. People that play baseball are used to stacking teams. Football, you handcuff a quarterback with a wide receiver quite often. That certainly applies to DFS soccer as well. I think you're going to most of the time want to, take two defensemen and a goalie going together, so that if they get that clean sheet, you get points for all of them. Especially in GPPs, I think you're going to need to do that. And then, I think it's interesting, and I'm interested to hear your take on taking forwards and midfielders from the same team. Certainly, you can get the assist and the goal kind of double combo, but it is like basketball where only one person can put the ball through the hoop at a time. Same with soccer. A goal scored, only one guy can score it. So, do you think stacking attackers is going to be a good strategy?
Not necessarily, and it's going to be game dependent, not slate dependent. Not that I
Yeah.
mean, there's a couple of weak teams that I might want to load up on
Yep.
attackers with. It's not a very deep scoring system where you're going to get points
Right.
for passes completed and crosses completed, and where you're going to say, well, I want this guy because he's going to get the ball on his feet a lot, like Xavi from Spain, and he's going to collect points for you throughout the match that
Right.
way. It's really goal-based or shutout-based. So like you said, I think pairing your goalie and your defenseman against a weak team is a great idea, especially considering, since I did a little bit of research, for this show, just a little. Looking back at the last World Cup in 2010, in the group stages there are 48 games. 31 of those games ended with a score of 0. So that's 31 clean sheets.
Yeah.
Now, there is a big bonus for a clean sheet for your goalie and for your defenseman. So if you think a team is going to completely just dominate the possession, dominate their opponent, they're just playing a dead fish on the other side, not a bad idea to play a goalie with a couple of defensemen, and not defensive-minded defensemen, mind you. I'm probably going to go for the guys that are going to get forward a little bit,
right,
either on set pieces like tall center backs like Godin from Uruguay,
right,
or maybe the guys who are going to overlap a lot. And they're expensive. Guys like Dani Alves on Brazil is not going to be cheap.
Yep.
But you can find some guys in there who are going to play left wing back, right wing back, or also be midfielders. There's a couple that I've seen that are midfielders disguised as defensemen. So you get the added effect of a guy that's going to be playing forward, but you can get a clean sheet off of them if you can pinpoint those guys and they're in the lineup on that day. So I think that that's a very good strategy. But why don't you talk a little bit about a couple of the Brazilians that you like, or a couple of these guys from that Brazil-Croatia game if people are playing on Stat Clash tomorrow?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Brazil, of course, starts with Neymar, but any of the Brazilian attackers are pretty good options. Guys like Hulk, Oscar, who, if you watch the English Premiership, plays for Chelsea, a great attacker. Neymar, of course, just a Brazilian wonder kid, if you will, expected to score a lot of goals. If you haven't seen him play, certainly a player to watch, and I think he's the odds-on favorite to lead the World Cup in goals. Certainly, I wouldn't bet against him. So he's a guy you could look at in a game. You've got to imagine how pumped up the Brazil players are for this. The crowd's going to be into it, and you got to think Brazil's putting at least a couple goals in the back of the net.
Yeah, and the last time that Brazil lost a home game that mattered was like a really long time ago. They don't lose on Brazilian soil, so not a bad idea to pick them. And you're just going to have to wait until the next time that these two groups are paired up and play their second game. But Neymar, obviously a great choice, and I saw something interesting on 538 about that's Silver's site, and they go on predicting the future based on modeling and stuff like that. And his big thing was Brazil is the odds-on favorite to win this, but they're actually a value at the odds that they are to win the World Cup. So they predict that they have a 75% chance of reaching the finals, like a 48% chance of winning the whole thing, but they're not priced accordingly. So there's actually a value there, and they're like 90% or 98% to reach the next stage. So they're going to get some W's. They're going to get maybe a draw in there, maybe, but there's going to be goals that are scored by the Brazilians. Yeah,
I think so. And I read that 538 article too. Pretty crazy that there could actually be value on Brazil on the Vegas betting line. Are you buying that? It seems like the home team would be overrated in terms of the betting market. So do you think that they really have a 50% chance to win? Like that 538 article said, or are you trusting Vegas? As DFS players, obviously we look to Vegas lines a lot.
I look to both, actually. I like to, vary it, but like what they're saying is that there's value there, even in the line that's on Brazil. So like they're kind of a lock to reach the group stages. They're really a lock to reach the semifinals. There's an interesting stat that was kind of broken in the last World Cup that a European team had never won a World Cup off of European soil until Spain won in South Africa in the last World Cup. They were the first European team ever to win. So the European teams, there's a couple that are favored pretty heavily to go far in this tournament, possibly win. Germany, Spain would be the two highest of those, but really it would not be surprising to see a South American team winning this World Cup. And going to the rest of this Group A, we're going to go to Mexico, who looks like, to me, along with Croatia, the second best team in this group, or have the second best chance to advance. And there's some value out there, at least from what we've seen from some of the pricing on Draft Street, on Mexico for this first game against Cameroon. There's also a little value on Cameroon in Eto'o. He's probably going to be their only scoring option, and Abubakar might be their secondary. I don't want anything to do with their defense. I don't want anything to do with their midfield. They're going to get stretched out, which in soccer terms means that they're just going to be all over the place. They're very athletic, but they're not the same team they were 4 or 8 years ago. They're getting older. They're getting a little long in the tooth. And this is Mexico's golden generation. You know, they won the 17 under World Cup, they won the 20 under World Cup, and they really haven't put it together now that they're all adults. And the most popular guy that people know on Mexico's team is Javier Hernandez, a.k.a. Chicharito. And good old Cheech is not going to start for this team because the coach kind of has a thing for players that play in the Mexican League. But some of his best players play in Europe. One of them is Andres Guardado, who is on the team listed as a defenseman, but he might play left wingback. So he might actually play defense, but the wingbacks, they play a 5-back set. Seems to be a very defensive set, but their 2 wingbacks really overlap and get up the field. So you can get some attacking chances off of those wingbacks. Yep. And depending on who's going to play forward, it looks like it may be Peralta. I don't know if we'll see Giovanni Dos Santos behind him or not. You asked me about him earlier.
Yeah.
So you have something on Peralta?
I don't. Mexico's tough to predict, how exactly they're going to come out. They do have some options, and I think Giovanni Dos Santos, especially on Draft Street, is a good value at 14K, assuming he's in the lineup. You mentioned getting those wingbacks in. That's something that I've certainly utilized. I've played some fantasy soccer, premiership stuff, where you make a new team every week, and that's definitely a trick. Is to get defenders. Roster defenders that play, more of a midfield position and midfielders that play forward positions, because you do have that, position scarcity going on there. So, always look for that. It's hard to predict exactly who's going to be in those forward positions, but certainly something you can take advantage of if you know what you're doing there.
Now, what do you think? Like I had mentioned, I mean, I like the wing backs there. Layun is one of them. And if they're starting, again, we don't know what their starting lineup is going to be just yet for Mexico, because, like I said, they've got guys that I think should start. Their best players. I think Chicharito is their best forward, but they're not starting him.
Right.
Dos Santos is their most creative central attacking midfielder. They should be starting him, but he might not. He might start one of the kids that plays in the Mexican League. Why don't you talk about the merits of playing a guy like Andres Guardado, who has been basically a left winger, way up the field, collecting a lot of shots, might be playing back, as well as, to me, what looks like the best value that I've seen out of this game would be Herrera, the attacking midfielder. He sees the ball on his foot a lot. When he's out there, he is going to get a lot of shots on net, and those are going to add up.
Yeah, definitely. Getting guys that will go forward, that will attack, get in crosses, get in shots. You're going to need those to succeed on Draft Street with their scoring system. You mentioned that it is very goal heavy. That is true. So certain midfielders, defensive midfielders, like you mentioned, Xavi, who doesn't really score that many goals. Incredible player, but maybe not the most valuable in this system. So you need guys that are going to get goals, and in particular, like you mentioned, you want defenders who could possibly get assists and could score some goals on headers themselves. Talk to me a little bit about the resources that you're using to select your players. Maybe different websites. We certainly have some good previews on RotoGrinders, but you're going to have to maybe go outside of there. So I like a site called WhoScored.com, which gives player ratings. You can look up game log history there. Do you use that site? And talk to me about any other resources that you might use.
Well, I kind of subscribe to a couple of soccer magazines. They're very easy to pick up. Just go to your newsstand, find World Soccer, find 442. Very easy to get some good insight on each individual team, what they might be doing. And there's going to be tons of recap on every single game, from ESPN FC to 442.com to a lot of different sites that you can find recaps on the game, as well as there's a lot of metric stuff that goes into the passing. However, the scoring isn't all that difficult.
Right.
It's very straightforward. Who's going to score the goals? Who do you think is going to have the most chances? Take guys that you think are going to get set pieces. And if you think that there's going to be teams that are going to dominate possession, like the Spaniards,
they're pretty good at possession.
You might want to pick some of them. So why don't we move on to Group B, and leading the way is Spain. Now, the problem for me with Spain is not the midfielders. We know that there's going to be some value there in the first game, looking at guys in the midfield like Silva is only 13.9. I think that's way underpriced. And Andres Iniesta is one of the top players. Even if you look at ESPN FC, they rated the top 50 players that they feel are the best 50 individual players in this World Cup. Yep. He's rated the third best player. he is going to be the guy that really initiates the offense for them. Xavi's still there, but he's really getting long in the tooth, and Iniesta is the key to that offense. The problem is the striker position for Spain. Sometimes they play what's called a false nine, which means they play with a midfielder without a striker. And everybody else just kind of gets into it. You don't know where the scoring is going to come from.
Yep.
They have two really great strikers. One of them, Diego Costa, who's coming off of an ankle injury, played in the Champions League final for Atletico Madrid and played, 6 minutes, 9 minutes?
Right.
And checked out, right? So
yeah.
I don't know if he's going to be fully fit, but even if he was, I didn't expect their striker to play more than 60 minutes because David Villa, who has one of the best international scoring records of all time for this Spanish team, and scored 2 goals in their last friendly this week, to me looks like a great choice at the price that he's at if Costa is not able to start, and he does.
Yeah, I mean, Spain's interesting. Obviously a ton of talent, but with that talent, you don't know exactly who's going to finish the games necessarily. Guys like Xavi, Andres Iniesta, they're not going to come out, but the guys that are really going to score the goals, you mentioned Diego Costa, David Villa, Cesc Fabregas, David Silva. Those guys are kind of interchangeable. Spain has a lot of interchangeable parts, and if someone's not getting it done, they could easily be subbed out. 2/3 of the way through the game. Spain's certainly a team that has the talent to utilize those subs. You mentioned Cameroon, a guy like Samuel Eto'o. He's pretty likely to finish the game. He's their best player by far. So it's like the NBA, not exactly, but you want to get your minutes locked in there as much as you can. With Spain, that could be tough.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. If they're not performing, they're going to go. And we mentioned playing and stacking defenses. That's going to be hard. If you're going to go with Iker Casillas, all the goalies seem to be about the same price, right? They're all around 18K-ish. Maybe you get Ochoa at 16K in this first slate and save a little bit. But the defense for Spain has some attacking options in it, but I don't know if you can afford them the way the pricing is on this first slate of games. I mean, like Jordi Alba really is going to get up the field and overlap and push down that wing. Sergio Ramos comes up in free play as well as on every corner and set piece. But I don't know if I can warrant paying over 8K for a defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, those are two guys that if you were going to pay for a defenseman, Jordi Alba, if you saw the goal last World Cup where he, streaked down the field, got behind the defense and scored a brilliant goal, he's got the talent, the speed, and the, of course, the liberty from his coach to go forward. And Ramos, great Champions League goal, scores goals, all the time for club team. He's definitely a good GPP play, I would say. Could return a huge, huge on your investment there, but kind of risky given the price. And then, of course, you always have risk of yellow card and red cards with Sergio Ramos.
Yeah, and see, here's the problem with the rest of this group. This is not the group of death, but there's 3 groups that are way more talented than some of the others. There's definitely a couple of just dead groups in this tournament where the pots were not sorted out correctly, and this is not it's not a very evenly distributed talent group. And this is one of the top 3 groups, along with Group D, and then the group that the United States is in is a very tough group as well. Chile is a very interesting team. They tend to play a 3 at the back system, which means they're going to get forward and they're going to attack, and they're going to do it constantly. Problem is, one of the most expensive guys, and this really surprised me because I thought he was going to be a good value play. Not a value, but I thought he was going to be undervalued based on his name and recognition and people knowing him. Is Arturo Vidal. Had a great season for Juventus, and he's a little bit injured. And they're talking about the possibility that he wasn't going to play in the first game. Then it was that he may not play in the group stages. And now they're talking about possibly making an emergency substitution off of their reserves list. And he doesn't even play at all in this World Cup. And that's a huge blow to this team because he's a great creative midfielder. He plays defensive mid for Juventus, but he's very attacking in terms of international play. But I think that what that does is it opens up room for somebody else who's a value play who we don't know yet who's going to start for him. But Alexis Sanchez becomes the hub of the offense.
Yeah, I think he's a great play. If you've watched Barcelona play, the talent that he has. Scores goals, gets assists, and he should be out there. He's immensely talented, young, speedy guy, can kind of do it all. So I'm definitely on him as well. I think Chile, at least in this first kind of set of games on Draft Street, might be the team to target. I certainly like their defense. Australia is just a little bit overmatched in my opinion. Chile should kind of run away with this game. I could see a 2-3-0 victory, and so certainly a team to stack on Draft Street. You can take 4 players from one team. I think it's pretty likely in this first slate of games that I'll have 4 Chileans on my team.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a pretty popular choice as well, because we think that they have the best matchup of the day. Australia is not good, and they're just going to get run over by the rest of this group.
Right.
They're going to be the odd man out. I wouldn't be surprised to see them go with 3 losses. If they draw a game, it's going to be extremely surprising.
Yes, I agree.
I don't think they get any points out of this group.
No.
Every team should get 3 points against them, as well as a goal or 2. But teams play so negatively, and Australia is going to play that way in terms of just trying to maybe salvage a point here or there, and then anything can happen if they get a draw against one team, and maybe it's tied late and they get a counterattack when the opposing team is tired. But I don't really see much there. But the Netherlands have a few attacking players, but they are getting older.
Yeah.
They did not do well in the final against Spain 4 years ago. Obviously, Spain is the best team, or has been the best team for the last 6 to 8 years. Nothing is really changing there, but Van Persie, Snyder, and Robin are still the best choices on this Netherlands team.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe Blind, the defenseman, I don't know if there's anybody else that I really want, though.
Yeah, certainly Netherlands, a team that's kind of known for their attackers. Those guys are all getting up there in age. Obviously, Robin, and Van Persie, Schneider, all still talented. I'm a little skeptical on how good of a World Cup they'll have. I think Chile will definitely give them a run for their money, and Spain, Spain, I think, will be able to keep the ball away from the Netherlands. I could see the Netherlands getting shut out by Spain. So I think those guys will be popular picks. Certainly big names. Van Persie. Obviously, playing for Arsenal, Man United, some of the biggest clubs in the world and the most popular league in the world. He'll be heavily rostered, but I'm a little skeptical on his, ability to score against the likes of Spain.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. Moving on to Group C, this is a tough group, and it's not tough because all the teams are tough. It's tough because there was one team that stood out from everybody, and that was Colombia. But now with their best player, Radamel Falcao, being out for the entire World Cup, I can't see anybody separating from anyone else in this group. You're going to see a lot of negative play, meaning that they're going to play very defensive. In soccer, it's called parking the bus in front of the net. And I could see everybody in this group just saying, I'm not going to make a mistake. I'm just going to let you make a mistake, and then maybe I'll get a corner kick and score off one of those, or off a set piece, or off of a counterattack. It's going to be a very low-scoring, grinded-out sort of group. Colombia has the most pace. They have the most speed. Ivory Coast looks like the second-best team. Greece is an all-out defensive unit, and they always have been. And Japan's got a couple of interesting players, but I don't know how much they can do against this group. Is there something in this group that you think you're going to target on Draft Street or on
This is certainly a group that kind of unexciting. You mentioned Colombia. I think they were kind of the team to look at. Japan can do a few things, but certainly I probably know the least about this group of any of them. So a lot of the Japan players do even play locally, so certainly not a league I follow. This is one I'll have to do more research on. As far as I know, Colombia is probably the favorite here. No.
Colombia was the favorite without Falcao.
Yeah.
Now it's evened up a little bit with Ivory Coast. They're the two that are expected to move on. Greece is not going to move forward at all. They just sit back. That's all they do. Japan has 2 players that I'm interested in, but based on what I see from the pricing on Draft Street for this first slate of games, I'm expecting them to be extremely high priced, and that's going to be Kazuki Honda and Kagawa from Manchester United. Those 2 guys are very creative forwards. They're very pacey, and they're going to log a lot of shots. Honda's going to take all the free kicks for this team, so any scoring chances are going to generate from those 2 players. If they're at a value, meaning if they're, to me, a value right now, based on what I saw from this first slate, if they're around 14K or less, I'm okay. If they're 17K or more, I want no part of it. I'm only going to pay for superstars that are 17K or goalies. So really, it's going to depend on the pricing for those 2 guys. Other than that, there's not much in this group. I mean, aside from, there is one thing. You get to say the word Drogba. But anytime you say the word Drogba, you have to say it in this deep guttural voice. Drogba! You have to say it that way, because so if you roster him, you get to sit there all day when he shoots and go, Drogba! All day long. So there is value in being able to say Drogba. but
that
go for that with Ivory Coast.
Certainly a fun player to watch. If you watch the Premiership, you certainly remember him from his Chelsea days. Always terrorized Arsenal. I know you're an Arsenal fan too,
Yep.
Smiz. We feared the Drogba, no doubt about it. He's getting old, but he's still got it in him. I think he'll score a goal in this World Cup. Don't necessarily know who it will be against, given the negative play in this group that we expect. But he's a good pick. I bet he'll be popular. Certainly a kind of a star. People know who he is.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting to see people's roster decisions. I think people will gravitate toward the big names, and certainly you might be able to find some value there.
Yeah, look, if he's going to be priced like Samuel Eto'o is priced on this first slate in his slate of games, then I'm probably going to be rostering Drogba against Japan or Colombia. Maybe not against Greece. I don't know if I want to play anybody against Greece because there might be one goal in a game against Greece. You're not, anytime your team plays against Greece, you're probably not going to score 2 or 3.
They're going for the 0-0 draw.
Yeah, they really are every single time, and they were successful with it, 10 years ago in the Euro, and they won that whole tournament like out of nowhere. They beat all the big dogs just by playing defensive soccer and just sitting back and frustrating teams and parking the bus. So it's worked for them. That team is still this team. They're just older now. But that's just what they do. So I'm not going to be playing teams against Greece. They're kind of the Baltimore Ravens of international soccer. They play boring, they play ugly. I want no part of it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Group C, not an exciting one. I think we can all agree on that. But the next group, Group D, this is an exciting one. So talk to me about who you like here, because, man, there are some fun players in this group.
Now, this is the teams that you're going to get the guys that you know. And you get one team that you should be able to pick on, but they're going to play extremely defensively, and that's Costa Rica. Costa Rica sits in a five-man back line, and they're just going to park the bus, and they're going to try and just eke out whatever they can against anybody that they play against. But they've got Uruguay, England, and Italy, 3 teams that have won the World Cup in the past that they have to deal with. Let's start with Uruguay and their strike tandem of Luis Suarez and Edinson Cavani. Possibly the best striker combo at the World Cup.
Yeah.
All the goals are going to come from those two for Uruguay, and I expect Uruguay to score a lot of goals in the games that they play. And they have quite a good defensive backline as well for DFS. I mean, it's not the best defense in the world, but in terms of getting forward, taking shots, both of their wingbacks, Pereira, I like Muslera in goal, as well as Godin, sitting in the middle there. He comes up and scores a lot of goals. He does for his club, and he does internationally as well. So set pieces and corner kicks, you can get some goals out of their defense. You're definitely going to get shots and goals out of their forwards. They should be, if they're priced improperly, they're going to be a very popular team this month.
Yeah, no question. And if you've never watched, Suarez, Cavani, Suarez in particular, maybe the most fun player to watch, in the Premiership. That's the league I watch the most. He's just everywhere. He'll drop into midfield, pick the ball up. He'll take a shot from anywhere on the field. Diving all the play, always trying to draw penalties. Just does everything. He can certainly be frustrating if you're rooting against him, but if you do roster him, you will get your money's worth at least watching his antics on the field.
He does everything. He even bites players.
Yeah, he does.
You can get anything out of this guy.
He's literally capable of anything on the field.
Yes, he's like the Mike Tyson. Look, he tied the record for most goals in the Premier League this year, which was held by Cristiano Ronaldo. He scored 32 goals. He was the best goal scorer in the world for the club season. Hottest player in the world. Had surgery at the end of the year. It was just a little scope.
Yeah,
He's
should
had
be fine.
4 weeks to recover. He's been training with the team. Feels just fine. He is definitely going to be. He should be the highest priced guy outside of Messi and Ronaldo for this tournament. And if he's not, you better pounce. Italy, it comes down to just a couple of players for me. They play very mechanically. I talked about how the Brazilians dance and they don't march. This team marches. That's all they do. They just get up the field and kick the ball up, down, don't do anything fun. But Balotelli, another guy like Suarez, you will know him by the little dyed mohawk on his head. You can't miss him in the blue of the Azzurri. So he's going to be one of my favorite forwards to roster because I don't think he's going to be as expensive as guys like Suarez, as guys like Ronaldo, as guys like Messi. You have to notch down from there. He shouldn't even be as expensive as Robin Van Persie, and Van Persie is at 19. And if Robin is 17 and Iniesta is 17, I'm hoping that Balotelli is somewhere between 17 and 19, so he's able to be rostered by me. The only other Italian I'm looking at is Pirlo because he takes all of their free kicks, so you get assist chances as well as goals on direct kicks. So is there anybody else on Italy, or do you want to, since you're the big Premier League fan, why don't you talk to me about England?
Yeah, I think that pretty much covers Italy. Balotelli's a big guy there. I think he could be a decent player to target. Someone I'll certainly be looking at. England is an interesting team. It'll be interesting to see their prices. I think they'll come out with Rooney playing behind Daniel Sturridge. So if you've watched England before, normally Rooney would be the lone striker, but Sturridge has kind of taken that spot most likely. We'll see Rooney play in the hole. But he'll still be a dangerous threat. I think he might, he is a threat to take their free kicks. He can distribute. I believe that Rooney has never scored, though, a World Cup goal. Is that true, Smiz?
I do not know that off the top of my head.
I think that is true. He's got a famous red card, I believe. And just as, England usually, or at least the last few times, has kind of floundered in the World Cup a bit, but I think they could have a decent chance here. Guys like Steven Gerrard, getting old but still effective. I don't mind the England defense as fantasy picks. Glenn Johnson, Leighton Baines get involved in the attack. Leighton Baines certainly capable of getting some crosses in, maybe even scoring on a free kick. He's kind of a wizard at that. So England definitely a team to look at. And Sturridge, of course, had a great season for Liverpool, partnering up with Luis Suarez up top. And I think he could be a good threat to score in this World Cup.
Yeah, it's very much a possibility. And like you said, Suarez had teamed up with Sturridge at Liverpool. They scored a lot of goals. And if you're going to go with Sturridge, you get a really neat goal celebration as well. I wonder if he's going to bring the wave. If he scores a goal and he starts doing the wave every time he scores a goal. So you get certain custom celebrations. So look for that if he does score one. Moving on to Group E, though. France, Ecuador, Switzerland, and Honduras. Yuck.
Yeah.
There's going to be value here, but I've got to find it. There's got to be value here.
Is France going to boycott the World Cup like they did last time?
I hope not, because that was so bad.
Yeah, it really was.
We're at the biggest thing in the world for our sport, where this is what we've dreamt of our entire lives. We don't want to play. I don't want to play. I want to get back on the bus and go to the hotel.
Oh, no. The Frenchmen. Oh, yes. The Frenchmen. You can't trust them.
They flipped their nose up. Yeah, they wanted to go have a nap. But anyway, this time they're playing without Frank Ribéry, who is one of the best players in the world. Has not won the Ballon d'Or, has not won the Player of the Year, but he's been in the running every single time.
Right.
One of the final five for the last 2 or 3 years. But replacing him is going to be Griezmann from Real Sociedad, and he had a fantastic season. So he's a guy who gets forward, takes a lot of shots. You want guys who are going to put the ball on net, because you get you get a half a point for a shot and another half point if it's on target. So if the goalie touches it, if it's on the frame of the goal, much like hockey for you guys who play fantasy hockey, if they shoot the puck and it goes wide, you get nothing. If they shoot the puck and it goes on net, goalie makes a save, you get a point. Well, it's different in soccer. If you just release the ball towards the net, you get a half a point, and Griezmann is a guy who's going to get forward and expect to fill that role that was previously filled by Frank Ribéry, and I expect a lot of shots out of him. But the guy that's going to score the most goals for that team, if they are going to score, is going to be Benzema. Yeah. The interesting value pick could be Paul Pogba. Also plays for Juventus alongside of Arturo Vidal for Chile. So it'll be interesting to see how he's priced when they come out with the prices. So everything we say is kind of speculative because we don't know how they're going to be priced on Draft Street. So a lot of it is, well, this is who we think is the best plays. These are kind of sneaky plays, but then you got to figure out where are they within the pricing structure of the site when the games come out.
Yeah, exactly. So you're going to have to, keep up with it. I think. This is a sport, we talk about baseball, me and you are both big baseball guys. Certainly you can gain an edge from watching a sport, but soccer is one where you can really see, who's in form, who's touching the ball, and looks like a dangerous threat. So if you like watching soccer, I think you can gain an edge here, by seeing, who looks good. That will carry over from game to game, who's getting forward, taking shots, all that good stuff. So watching the games will certainly be fun. But this group in general, I mean, I think France should be able to handle this. And as much as I won't enjoy taking France players, I'm not a fan of the team. I think there'll be some good picks from the France team, especially with Ribéry out. That'll kind of open up opportunities for other players.
Well, you also, like you're talking about, you get like some flowery language. That's one of my favorite things about listening to the announcers. You get these British announcers who use flowery language. Like you're saying, you get to see who looks good. They're not going to say, oh, he looks good. They're going to say, oh, yes, oh, the French team has got their tails up and they're running around the field. It's like all this flowery language. Oh, exquisite, sublime pass by Ribéry. All these, and it's fantastic. I was like, how did they ever think to say that? But it's come so naturally for them. So it's part of the fun of watching the game is hearing the way that it's announced. So I hope we don't get like Bob Lee.
Yeah.
Nothing against Bob Lee. I'm sure he's a very nice guy. But I want like the dude from FIFA. I want Martin Tyler. I want those guys.
No Gus Johnson, please.
Yeah. I thought Gus Johnson was going to die when Landon Donovan scored in the last World Cup. I really did. I thought he might die.
On-air death. That would have been quite the thing. How about tomorrow's sports day, just to take a quick brief aside here. U.S. Open in the morning, opening game, Brazil in the World Cup, and then NBA Finals at night. That's
a full day.
I might be glued in front of my TV tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing baseball research and watching the Brazilians play because... look, you and I have played FIFA, and actually we've played a few times on the same team in our little club. We've played against each other. Yeah. We're pretty evenly matched in FIFA, to the point where like we played, 8 games, and we've both won and lost 4, and we have the same goal differential.
Right.
It's like the exact even players in that game. But,
good battles.
Yes, but I'm always using Brazil. So, like, I am always going to be watching that game tomorrow. Like, I will be nowhere else but watching that game at 11 a.m.
I love that we take teams that emulate our playing styles too. So you've got Brazil, you're doing all the dribble moves, and I'm like Germany, trying to pass around you and unlock you, or maybe Spain. So it's just funny that we, definitely on FIFA it's a realistic game. Certainly you can take the players are better if you kind of use them how they're meant to be used, how they play in real life. So certainly, certainly something to look at there.
Yeah, a couple of quick notes from the rest of this group, and then we'll move on. Ecuador, missing one of their best strikers. He's kind of retired from international play. So we're looking at the Valencia combo. Enter Valencia and Antonio Valencia are going to be probably their 2 best attacking options. They do get forward from their defense, so I don't know who it's going to be starting for them on the wing-back spots, but look at their pricing when you see the starting lineups there. Switzerland, the only guy that I really want is Shaqiri, who has played for... Bayern Munich. He's extremely fast. My style of player, too. Real fast, a lot of skill moves, real tricky.
He is exactly your type of player.
Exactly. I get it. He's one of the first guys I buy in Ultimate Team every year. He's super cheap, but he's really fast and 5-star skill moves. So, and for Switzerland, he's basically their most creative attacker. So he's going to put the ball on net. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for guys that are constantly going to accrue points through drawing fouls, which is what these skillers do. What these attacking players as well do, because you get points for that. They also don't commit very many fouls because they ain't getting back and playing defense. That ain't happening. So they're not going to commit too many fouls, and then they're going to just rack up shots and shots on net, which you get a half and a full point for as well. Honduras, not really that interested.
No.
Bankston, Costly, Palacios, sure, if they're cheap enough, I guess, as a value punty play against Switzerland, possibly. Not playing them against France because I don't think they're going to score. But that brings us to our next group, which includes Argentina with Lionel Messi.
Yes. Before we talk about this, we do have breaking news. You're not going to believe this.
I'm not going to believe this.
Evan Gaddis got out.
No way.
We didn't think it was possible.
How did that happen?
I thought he was going 4 for 4 with 4 dongs today.
Wasn't that what was supposed to be on the slate? I mean, look, put it this way. Looking at the 1KQ on FanDuel real quick, he was 48% owned, and I thought he was going to be like 75. So I was like, nice, he's a contrarian play at 48%.
Yeah. Yes. He's certainly a popular play today. But back to soccer, Argentina playing. They have a lot of good forwards, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, they're top-heavy. They don't play much defense, but you don't have to when you can possess the ball and play with the forwards that they have. Now, Messi is going to be expensive, and judging for the prices I see from this first slate and from what I've seen of the pitchers on Draft Street, right, I would expect a guy like Messi and Ronaldo to be about 25K. Would you disagree with that?
That would seem fair, yeah. I mean, based on
Right.
the first pricing we've seen, we'll be interested to see if they adjust that. If the ownership percentages are not what they want. Um, certainly Draft Street is running this for the first time. They're learning on the fly as well. I think there'll be big edges to be had if you know what you're doing. And yeah, I mean, certainly Messi is going to be extremely expensive. Another guy that hasn't been, up to this point, extremely successful for Argentina, at least in the World Cup. Do you think you're going to be paying up for Messi when the time comes?
And that's the thing. If he's 25K, based on the pricing that I've seen, and it's extremely tight, it's very hard to roster a bunch of guys that I like and that I know. Just on this first slate, guys that I'm confident these guys are going to be involved in the offense, play 90 minutes because that is a big thing. They only get 3 substitutes in soccer. For those of you who are new, you only get to take 3 guys off the field. Okay, you play 11. One of them's a goalie. 10 guys, 7 of them are going to 10 outfield players. 7 of those are going to finish the game. You want as many guys that are going to play 90 minutes as possible. You don't want a guy that's going to play 60 or 65 get subbed out because the most goals are scored in the final 30 minutes of a World Cup soccer game because that's when the players get tired. That's when their legs go. That's when the defense kind of opens up. There's not as much pressing, so there's more space to be broken down. So for me, I'm probably not going to pay for Messi, especially that first game, because everybody who's new is going to play him. Right. I'm going to look at guys like Gonzalo Higuain and Sergio Aguero, who have they're huge talents. These are big-time goal scorers, and even if Messi's the one that scores a goal, somebody has to supply it.
Right.
Messi plays the wing for this team the way it's formed right now. Higuain plays up top. And then Aguero's going to play on the other side. They don't play like a 4-3-3. It's more of a 4-3-2-1 with 2 forwards. They play a little more centrally than a winger who would play way outside. So it's kind of like playing 3 strikers. But that's kind of what it's going to look like. And I would rather pay for the other 2 than pay up for Messi.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there. You've got to remember when you look at Messi's had all his success obviously at the club level for Barcelona, but Argentina is not Barcelona. For Barcelona, he's able to basically get the ball in attacking positions where he can dribble at the defense whenever he wants. Argentina is not that type of team. They're not going to dominate possession quite the same way, and they're not all about just kind of setting him up to create. Certainly, guys like Sergio Aguero likes to dribble himself. So, I think in this first group, against Bosnia and Iran and Nigeria, Argentina stacks with those forwards could be very profitable.
But I don't know if they're possible. Yeah. That's going to be the problem. Like, I totally agree with you. They'd be possible, but profitable. But I don't know if you're going to be able to get all 3 of them. I mean, I think it may be possible, just based on the pricing, to get somebody to pair one of those strikers with one of their midfielders like Di Maria, who just had a fantastic Champions League final, but he's more of a passer, though we saw him really go attack mode in that Champions League final, and so did anybody else who was watching. So if he's priced properly, if he's priced around 14K, I might go for Di Maria over paying for and pair him with one of those attacking players. Aside from that, in this group, Nigeria, I want no part of it. I don't want any part of Emenike at striker. Obi Mikel plays more forward than he does in his club, but I don't want it. Iran, they're going to get run over. Bosnia is interesting, and they're sneaky to me. This is the sneaky team. They scored so many goals in qualifying. They were one of the highest scoring teams in the world. They have 2 huge forwards, and if they're running both of them out there at the same time, they can run a 4-4-2, like a 4-1-2-1-2 diamond formation with both of these guys up top, Zico and Ibisevic, and they get all the service. You're talking about 2 strikers that are 6'3" and 6'5". These are big dudes. Soccer's full of guys that are 5'9". These guys tower over the competition, and it's all the service in the world. All they do is blast it down the wings, lob it into the box, and hope that one of these guys can head it into the goal. So expect a lot of service, a lot of shots from those 2. And I don't think they're going to be priced extremely high. And Ibisevic is kind of my sleeper in the group stage of guys that's going to be underpriced, under-owned, and should be able to produce for you.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to go. Certainly you're going to want to target Argentina and Bosnia against Iran and Nigeria. I do expect those teams to have success. In particular, Argentina. I think they're the team to target in this group. But certainly the forwards for Bosnia you could do worse than taking them on your team. They should be able to. I mean, I wouldn't even be afraid of taking them against Argentina necessarily. Argentina is certainly going to score some goals, but I could see them letting up some goals as well.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility, but now we're going to move on to Group G, and G stands for Germany. And since that's your favorite team, I do enjoy playing with the German guys on FIFA. When I play with my Ultimate Team, I have my own whole Bayern squad that I play with, and Bayern squad is basically their World Cup squad.
Yeah.
So why
Minus
don't
the wingers?
Yeah, but we did have a big injury there. With Marco Reus is out for this World Cup. He's going to be replaced, it looks like, by Podolski. So why don't you I'll let you talk about your favorite team, the Germans.
Yeah, I mean the Germans. For me, if this cup was in Europe, the Germans would be the favorite to win it. They've just got talent all through their lineup. I think Brazil has to be the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Germany take this whole cup. And we talk about the forwards for Germany. They're kind of a team like Spain where they're not really forward centric. We might see kind of old man Miroslav Klose play up front. It wouldn't surprise me to see Thomas Müller there either, but basically all the attackers, Müller, Klose, Özil, Podolski, those guys can all do damage. And, against weak opponents, I think we're going to see Germany run over some people, and I wouldn't be surprised to see them knock, 3, 4, 5 goals in against some of the weaker teams in this group. Hopefully not the USA, but I could see it happening.
Well, speaking of the old USA,
there we go.
You always got to kiss the badge. The badge always goes over your heart, so you got to kiss the badge when you score a goal. Germany is tough, and the interesting thing for me that I've seen is that their coach Lowe likes to play Götze, who is a midfielder. And I mentioned earlier this month on Twitter, they brought one striker and he's hurt and he's old, and it's Klose. Like you said, Müller plays a little bit up front, but from what I've seen in their friendlies and some of their qualifying, he really likes to go with a false 9 and play Götze up front, which is going to be interesting because if Götze is a value play, because all these other guys have to be more expensive than he does. You've got to have Ozil priced higher. You've got to have Podolski priced higher. If you don't have Podolski priced higher, then go after Podolski because he could be their free kick specialist now that he's in the starting lineup. And Müller should be priced higher as well. So you're talking about the 4th highest guy on the team and a goal-favorable scoring system who is playing striker for a very talented and pass-happy team.
Germany's a team that I think will be very price-dependent on who I roster from their team. You talk about those forwards. They're certainly built on a platform of Khedira, Schweinsteiger in the middle. But those guys don't get forward a whole lot. Schweinsteiger maybe a little bit more than Khedira. So the attackers in this team should really have a go. But it's hard to say for sure who the goals are going to come from. They are kind of interchangeable parts a little bit, especially if they go with the false 9.
And all 6 of those midfielders, including the striker, I'm just including him in that front 6. And I'm not expecting Khedira to start. I'm actually expecting the back line or the center defensive mids to be Schweinsteiger and Toni Kroos. And both of those guys can really fire it from deep. They're long shot specialists. They can hang back, but they are offensive-minded players. The combination that this German team presents to a team, they can possess the ball, they can shoot it from anywhere, they can beat you with speed on the outside. They're bigger than most teams, and they're very talented. But getting to the US of A.
There we go.
They don't have to play Germany first. So we do get Ghana. They have been a tough team for us to deal with. They've been playing. Klinsmann's played a 4-3-3 a lot through qualifying, but he has switched recently to a diamond, like a 4-1-2-1-2 with a dedicated defensive mid in Jones. Bradley has moved more up top and has been more of an attacking mid, more involved in the offense. Also, he's going to be a guy who's going to fire it from outside the box. With Dempsey and Altidore pairing up top, and Dempsey kind of gets to roam, and they kind of go wide with him a little bit, but it's up to them on the floor of the game. So those are the 3 guys that I'm going to be targeting from the United States. The 4th guy that I might target out of their attacking players would be Zusi, who does have some goal-scoring ability, does get wide, does get forward, delivers some crosses into the box, so you do have chances at shots, chances at possible assists there as well. If I was going to go with a defenseman, it's going to be somebody offensive-minded like Beasley. If he's playing on the left side at wingback, he can get forward, but I'm not playing any of them against Germany because that would be silly. But Germany in the first game is going to play Portugal. Cristiano Ronaldo, not good at throwing a football, real good at kicking a football, though. And I don't think there's any player in the world better than him. And then right now that includes Messi. He has had the best year of anybody in the world. He is the most talented, the fastest, the best tricks. He's fun to watch. If Messi is LeBron James, he's Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Just immensely talented. Can do anything. Obviously, going to take all the free kicks basically for Portugal, so you've got that going for you.
And penalty kicks.
And penalty kicks.
Any penalty kicks, he's taking them, so that's automatic goals.
So he's an extremely friendly, draft street scoring player. He's, for those free kicks, anywhere close, he is shooting. So that's automatic points right there. He's very good at putting those on net. He tries to hit that knuckleball and just kind of have it swerve into the goal, but those go on net, more often than players that try to maybe bend it in the upper corner. So I think, Ronaldo, even against a team like Germany, might be in play. Germany certainly has a strong defense. Do you think you'll be paying for a player, like Ronaldo, who's going to be extremely expensive against a juggernaut like Germany?
Not against Germany, but definitely against Ghana. Don't know if I'm going to play him against the United States, though. I think it's just going to be too hard to roster him based on the prices that I see from the first one. Helder Postiga looks like he's going to be starting at striker, and with Nani on the opposite wing of Ronaldo, Ronaldo's going to get the lion's share of shots. I expect 5 to 8 shots from him per game, and at least 4 of those are going to be on target. You mentioned all the free kicks and everything else, but Postiga might be in a good position to poach a few goals there. So he might be an interesting play for pretty cheap at the forward position. You're always looking for guys that are going to be in position to score a goal for cheap. As far as Ghana, Guion, maybe, but everybody else, meh. I want no part of them.
Yeah, I'm with you there. What do you think of the United States' chances of advancing out of this group, kind of in general?
They're not terrible. I mean, look, they're obviously third out of 4 based on expected chances to advance. But Germany is like 80% to advance. Portugal's like 38%. The United States is like 30%. They're not real far behind. There's definitely a path to getting there. Part of it is, one, you got to beat Ghana in game 1. You need all 3 points out of that game. Have to get 3 out of that one. You have to lose to Germany by as few goals as possible because goal differential is a tiebreaker, and you have to draw with Portugal. If you do that, you have a chance to advance. Anything greater than that, if they happen to, we've beaten Portugal before. It's like I posted a meme about this as well in the past. It's like, let's see, we're playing Portugal in the group stages, and they have the best player in the world. Seen this before, and it's like Landon Donovan doing the airplane after he scored. Spigo, totally confused. We've done this before, boys. So, if we get a draw out of that game, I'll be very happy. It's going to be very hard to contain a guy like Cristiano Ronaldo. But Portugal, not a very good defensive team, and our strikers are kind of clicking right now. We've played very well through our little run-up, through our little friendlies. I would have loved to have seen us play this closed-door match tomorrow against Belgium, but they canceled that one, so won't get any reports from that. Would have been nice because I think Belgium's a very good team, and we'll get to them in just a second. But yeah, if we can get a win against Ghana, a draw against Portugal, and lose 2-1 to Germany, I'd be very happy with that output because it might send us through to the next round. Getting on to Group H because I've got to get going because we started so late. Got to pick up my kids from the park with my wife. Belgium plays kind of an attacking, adaptive 4-3-3 formation. They're the best team in this group. We talked about the group of death. We talked about the other group was really tough, and the United States which is tough. This is the group of meh. There's nothing in this one. It's Belgium and nothing. They should honestly run over everyone. Eden Hazard's going to be very expensive. If Lukaku is healthy, and it's a fun name to say, Romelu Lukaku. Big, young, strong dude, scores a lot of goals with his left foot.
It's like the new Drogba.
Yes, he kind of is the new Drogba, but with dreads, not like straight back hair.
Certainly a physical beast, and you're right about Hazard. If you watch Chelsea play, Hazard certainly has the speed, the moves, can score, assist, do a little bit of everything. So he'll be, kind of their talisman. I would expect him to, complete every game. I don't think he'll be subbed out. So certainly a guy to target. I'm with you. I think he'll be expensive. If not, he'd be a guy I'd be on. What are your thoughts on Fellaini? I could see him maybe doing some damage here.
I don't know if he gets forward enough. They're very talented. That team is extremely talented. The guy that I think is my sleeper on that team would be Dembele. He didn't do much for Tottenham this year, but I think he kind of is going to show up for this World Cup a little bit, especially considering how tasty this group is for them. They could actually do very well attacking, and Belgium is obviously the class out of this group.
Yeah.
Somebody else may be on form, but the other teams are going to play a little bit defensive. South Korea is going to play a very counterattacking style. Russia is going to sit down and be very defensive. They have one guy that I like. Imagine this. He's fast and he uses a lot of skill moves. Yuri Zirkov. It's about the only guy. And you get to say a guy whose name kind of sounds like Jerkov when they say it on the air, so it's kind of funny.
There we go.
Yeah, Yuri Jerkov. That's great. And then Algeria.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They're not so good at soccer.
No, not good at the game. Yeah.
Belgium will run through them. We talk about targeting defenders that can get forward, score some goals. Vincent Kompany, I think, will be a guy you might want to look at. Scores a good number of goals for Man City every year on headers, and just a fantastic defender and player otherwise. So I'm a big fan of his, and he could certainly be a force to reckon with for Algeria as Belgium kind of racks up corner kicks. I could see him knocking in one or two with his head.
Yeah, you know what? I could really see Belgium being one of the higher scoring teams in the group stages, as well as Bosnia-Herzegovina, just based on the fact of matchups. And this is all about matchups and all about pricing, guys. So really take advantage of looking at who the starting lineups are going to be, which teams you think have a statistical advantage over the other in terms of possession, shots, who's going to play the most in their forward part of the field. Goals are going to happen. They're not random, but they are somewhat random in the sense that, set pieces don't always go to your guy. In open play, it does tend to funnel to the same guys, but the shots don't always go in. Corners just go to anybody. It's called putting it into the mixer. There's like 10 dudes that stand there in the middle, and hopefully your guy gets it. So, aside from that, play the best plays, find the best prices, and try to get after it. Just want to remind you once again, Stat Clash has a World Cup promo. Sign up through our links. It's right there in the forums. And it starts tomorrow with the kickoff of the Brazil-Croatia game. So get there before that starts. They also are giving you a 100% bonus when you make your first deposit. That's way up from what it is, all the way up to $600. So take advantage of the free money that they're giving you in tournaments. Take advantage of the free bonus money. And best of luck this entire World Cup, guys. That's going to be it for me. Pete, you want to close out the show?
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys. Certainly a learning experience for us here, but excited for some DFS soccer. I've been waiting for this. Soccer player growing up, and we get to start tomorrow. So it's gonna be fun. If you don't know much about the game, don't be afraid to use the Vegas lines. Look at starting lineups and get those starting forwards, and you could do a lot worse than that as a starting point. With that, we are out of here. Good luck tomorrow if you're playing over at Stat Clash, and on Friday when kind of the World Cup begins in full.
Yep, that's it for me. Bye, everybody. Ole ole.